Hi everyone. I hope that you've been well and that you've been continuing to evolve on these waves of evolution. I hope you've been kind and gentle with yourselves and continue to focus on your spiritual disciplines. Today, I'm bringing to you a topic that I am most passionate about. Those that know me on a deeper level know that I am very aware of my radiation exposure. It's something that I find to be incredibly important to talk about, to recognize, and to mitigate in our life. So today I made a list of all the ways which you can reduce your radiation exposure. I will be sending this list to my private newsletter, so if you aren't subscribed to that, it's free to join on my website. You can do so below. Radiation has tremendous damaging long-term effects to the human body, especially if in a weakened state. Wi-Fi alone operates on a 2.4 gigahertz frequency, and the 2.4 frequency is known to cause the human brain to become docile. Also, it's not really talked about here in the United States, but in other parts of the world, radiation is becoming much more of a prevalent theme in terms of providing safety to the public, finally. Like in Russia. Russia had a case where a bunch of children got sick in a school where there was a 5G tower nearby. 6 of the children, I believe, ended up dying a year later after showing radiation symptoms. And various tests were concluded that linked each one of these sick children, their sickness, to the radiation tower that was next to the school. After Putin found out about this, he literally removed all the 5G antennas in towers in Russia. And now there is no 5G in Russia. I also had this confirmed by a friend of mine whose family lives in Russia, in Moscow, and they live next to a 5G tower, and their tower was also removed, and they haven't seen any come up since then. So there is finally some progress being made, but there is a long way to go. For example, in France, they recently banned the iPhone 12. While all iPhones emit massive amounts of radiation, the iPhone 12 is known to emit even more radiation than the other versions of these iPhones. So in France, it was banned, which is one tiny step forward in the right direction. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry, if not trillion at this point, in which so many people have become completely dependent upon this technology, to the point where they can't even go a full day without strolling on social media. There's tons of documentaries about this and studies that show that this technology and social media causes dopamine to release from the brain as well as other hormones and chemicals, which is like a drug. So now more than ever, it's important to be aware of how much we're exposing ourselves to this, and in turn expose ourselves to nature more, to grounding more, to being in the present moment and not being fully bombarded with distractions. It's important that we learn to connect back to what is human about us. Yes, technology can be wonderful. I'm making this video to you on a technological device, which by the way is on airplane mode and its Bluetooth is disabled. But there's a time and a place for it, and after I finish this and upload it to my computer and edit the video, I will be putting my phone away in a Faraday box that I have, and I probably won't look at it for the next couple days. With that being said, here is my list of ways to reduce your radiation exposure. Number 1, no microwave. Not only does the microwave zap all the nutrition out of your food, it also radiates it. Using a microwave is pretty much the dumbest thing you can do if you're trying to get nutrition out of your food. So yeah, throw away your microwave. Not only that, it's got weird antennas in it. Turn the power switch off. I would never even have one in my house. Whenever you put the bottom of your laptop on your lap, it's literally killing your sperm. It's messing with your organs, and it's radiating that whole part of your body. So they created Hara pads, which are wood slabs that you can place your laptop on top of. Doing this reduces the radiation exposure by 90 to 95%. It's important to remember that this radiation damages DNA. So not only are you going to be affecting your DNA, but also that of your offspring. Earbuds. It is so confusing to me, especially when I see spiritual teachers that are wearing earbuds and that are incredibly into health. It makes no sense.
Okay. These are genuine, right?
Yes.
The earbuds. Now there's no audio coming, right? No audio. And the earbud is still radiating. The earbuds are still radiating all the time. From the cell phone through the earbuds, actually, to my home phone. You can hear it ringing in the background. And the radiation levels are still the same. There's no difference. As much as possible, all the time.
Did you guys know that in order for one earbud to connect to the other, it connects through your brain? They don't independently connect to the device that they're operating from. It makes no sense why you would be radiating the inside of your brain today. I don't understand. It emits massive amounts of radiation, and testing this wire, it's still emitting a low amount of EMF radiation into my ear, but it is about 90% less than what you're getting if you're wearing earbuds. So that Bluetooth signal is radiating for at least 25 to 50 feet outwards. So not only are you radiating yourself, which fine, if you want to do it in your own place, but don't do it with everybody else around you. Next point, turning off your Bluetooth, removing anything Bluetooth, and just wire everything. Also, when you're not in a place where you're using Wi-Fi, don't keep your Wi-Fi on, because that's constantly going to be pinging out and looking for a Wi-Fi signal. Every time it pings out, that's sending more and more radiation to anything that's around it. Preferably put your phone on airplane mode. I don't know why, but when you put your phone on airplane mode from the little quick area, it doesn't really go on airplane mode when it's tested. In order to fully have it on airplane mode, you need to go to the settings and disable it from there. Turning off your 5G. I mean, if you even have a 5G device with a 5G antenna, you're already going really in the wrong direction when it comes to taking care of your health and your radiation exposure.
Down the street, we're about 50 meters away, and you can see the small cell attached to that lamppost. We're going to turn the meter back on here. And we're now getting much higher levels, about 10 times higher at about 1,000 microwatt per meter squared, at least a few hundred. Okay, let's keep the meter on as we move closer. Okay. It's peaked at 64,000 here. Okay, let's keep going. Let's have a look.
Some of the phones still offer the feature where you can disable 5G and just operate from a 4G network. If you only have a 5G phone, I would strongly recommend downgrading. The iPhone 10 is the last phone without a 5G antenna, which is the one that I have. Everything that your phone does, buy it individually, and that's exactly what I did. So I bought a calculator, and I love to use my calculator now. I have an iPod, which is just for my music, and there's no radiation coming out of it. It's constantly on airplane mode. There's no chip in it, nothing. Using a camera. All of these little apps that is making you more and more dependent on the phone, get them external. Speakers. Many people use speakers today that connect through Bluetooth. Again, you want to disable Bluetooth. This is another form of radiation. So you're compounding radiation, your cellular data, your Bluetooth, your Wi-Fi. And if your phone is set to refresh apps constantly, then it's pinging that out all the time too. All of this needs to be removed. Remember to wire it and then disable your Bluetooth. Internet. All right, so you heard me talk about the 2.4 frequency and how it renders the human brain docile. About, I think, 2 years ago now, I wired all the internet in my house. I made a video about that, and I will post it at the end as well. And it was the best thing that I could have ever done. Wiring your internet reduces your exposure by you don't know how much percent. It is such a difference that you feel in your body. All you have to do is disable the Wi-Fi on your modem with advanced settings. If you call in, they will show you how you can do this with your internet provider. Disable all the Wi-Fi on your computer and on all your devices. You will never again be exposed to the 2.4 frequency, at least in your home, and especially while you're sleeping. While you're sleeping, your body is regenerating itself and it's healing and recovering. If it's constantly being bombarded by all of these frequencies, it's just giving it yet another obstacle towards reaching harmony within its natural self. Another way in which I've reduced my radiation exposure was by transferring my calendar and my scheduler onto paper, like back in the day, and I love it. This reduces the amount of screen time that I have on a daily use by a large percentage. Yet another way which they are trying to permeate us with more compounding layers of radiation is by updating all of the mainstream alarm systems. Many alarm system companies today are removing their 3G connection and upgrading it to a 4G or 5G connection. What this means is that they literally put a little 4G or 5G cell phone tower in your garage or wherever you have your alarm system set up, and this will be pinging out God knows when. Also, they could ping this out during frequent times in the night, and the thing is that you have no control over it. Demand that your alarm company wires your alarm system, including the communications with the alarm tower. If they do not have this option available, take your business to another place. We found a company who does it as well. It's a little hard, and this is why it's important that we pave the way, because if more people demand it, then they will make it more readily available to people who are conscious of their radiation exposure. Next, if you have the ability to remove your smart meter, do so. In California, they have pioneered and they have pushed, which allows them to opt out. They have to pay a fee for an analog meter, and they do so, but they have the option to have an analog meter which has no radiation. These smart meters are trash. Not only do they emit massive amounts of radiation, they also send your private information on what appliances you're using at what time and with what frequency. This is a violation of our Fourth Amendment. Okay, they're literally spying on what you're doing inside your home and what devices you're using. I tried so hard to get the smart meter removed from our home in Florida, and it was impossible. I mean, I went through legal documents and everything, and it was so hard. I even came with scientific evidence showing that they are damaging to the human body and to human health, and they just gaslit me like you wouldn't believe. They also try to charge people an obscene amount of money in order to switch to analog in the first place. But if you're not able to switch to analog, which I have been unable to do in Florida, then I suggest you get a smart meter shield. Get one that is a metal mesh. Those are the best ones. And that will reduce your exposure by, I'd say, 80 to 90%. Many fires have been started with smart meters. Anything with the name smart is actually dumb. Now they're even putting Wi-Fi on laundry machines. And don't think that these machines don't have the ability to spy in or listen in on you. They do. Same with Alexa. You're just feeding AI, and you're basically putting a microphone in your home and allowing these people to do whatever they want with the information that they are having access to without your consent. So with that being said, remove all smart appliances. When we do this, when we take this action, we're taking a vote for what we're saying yes to, for what we consent to and what we don't consent to. I don't want a Wi-Fi antenna spewing a 2.4 frequency in my home when I'm not even washing my clothes or when I'm washing my clothes. You don't need to make a machine with Wi-Fi. This is ridiculous. And that's what they're going to do now. They're making these smart homes where you just speak to the home and the whole house ends up controlling itself. It's really creepy. And there's so much radiation coming from so many angles. And we're putting our children in these environments. It's irresponsible. In China, they have a law that women who are pregnant have to wear a specific apron to protect the fetus from harmful radiation exposure. Removing all smart bulbs. These new light bulbs somehow have Wi-Fi and are tech activated. Fluorescent bulbs, bulbs with mercury, all of these bulbs are just so bad for your melatonin and for your vision, and I don't like them at all. The type of light that they emit is not conducive for the biological body. I would go back to old school incandescent bulbs, and as we do so, it will create more of a demand for these incandescent bulbs to become available to us. As you know, they were banned, and now a lot of them aren't even sold at Home Depots or places where we go and get our light bulbs. They're becoming a rare commodity. This is my favorite, and this is the newest change that I've made, and I wouldn't go back after being like this for a few months. And what it is no cell phone. I know it's crazy, but it's amazing. I'll check my cell phone a few times a week, but besides that, I don't touch it, I don't see it, and it saves so much of my time and of my focus onto things that are more important. So what do you do instead if you don't have a cell phone? You get a landline. Remember all of us back in the 90s when we used to have phones like that? Those are the best phones. Always make sure it's wired. Don't get wireless. Those wireless landlines are actually as bad as the cell phones today. In fact, some of them are worse. So wire your landline, and whenever you have to make a call or someone needs to reach you, you've got an answering machine. I love checking my landline and seeing who has left me a message and just being able to sit in one place and talk on the phone like it was in the 90s. I love it. It also makes communication more personal. A lot of times with text messages, it's hard to read the way in which people are speaking or the tone that they're using. But this type of communication feels a lot more connecting. Having a landline also probably is going to reduce the biggest chunk of radiation exposure that you're having. Constantly touching your phone, having it on you, having it near you, even just the addictive quality of having the phone there. This reduces it all. If you want to take your tech detox a step further, you could leave your cell phone for an extended period of time at one of your family members' house in case you feel like you're tempted to grab it. Just go and get rid of it, and you will feel withdrawal symptoms like a drug. But stick with it. Start one day, then extend it to 2 days, and then from there you can progress. I promise you, once you get to the other side, you will never go back to the way that it was before, for those of you that use cell phones on a daily basis. Do not live near a cell phone tower. For those of you that do, I know how hard it is to get them removed. If you do live near a cell phone tower and for whatever reason can't break your lease or have to stay there for an extended amount of time, there is a specific type of paint. It's an EMF shielding paint that you can buy. Those towers can fluctuate in the amount of radiation that they're spewing out from any second. And we don't really know who's in charge of those towers, although we really do know. But what I'm saying is that not only are they incredibly dangerous towards our health, but the amount of radiation can literally go off the scale within a matter of minutes. In these smart cities that are getting built, the 5G frequency that we're getting right now is just a little baby. 5G ranges from around 20 gigahertz to over 100. When they start cranking that up past 60 gigahertz, that's when you're really going to start to see some crazy stuff go down around here. And I can't say too much because my channel got really censored after this, but Let's just say what happened in 2020 was a direct correlation with these 5G Elon Musk satellites going up into low orbit and 5G getting fully installed into all the schools and hospitals while we were all locked down. There is a kill grid that is being set, and they're going to crank it up. It's like the frog effects, you know, when you have frogs in a warm lake and you turn the heat up on the water slowly, you know, the body goes adjusting to it until it reaches that pivotal point where you start to get devastating results. And we don't want to get to that point. We want to keep an eye on this and mitigate it from the start. So when all of that starts to hit the fan, we are protected and we have shielded ourselves from being exposed to that environment. So please, the more we can get into nature and the farther we can get away really from cities at this point, because the amount of radiation that we're being exposed to is billions times more than our grandparents ever were. Do not go through the airport scanners. Airport scanners also emit massive amounts of radiation. At the airport, they will tell you, oh no, it doesn't, it's fully safe, this and that. Read the articles about people that worked at the airport security that now have cancers all over their body. Luckily, because of medical devices and because there is still a shred of human dignity and human rights in the world, we have the ability to opt out lawfully of going through airport scanners. They will ask you, which is your reason for opting out, and you can say, I have a medical condition, which is absolutely true. It's called electromagnetic sensitivity, EMS. There's tons of communities of people that have EMS that are far away from the grid. You can say you have EMS, or you could just say my medical information is private. It's protected under the HIPAA law, and it's a $75,000 fine if you're asking me to disclose my private medical information to you. So simply opt out and say you have no desire to go through the machine. It's not conducive towards your health, and they have to provide you with an opt-out. They give you a pat-down. It might take about 10 to 15 minutes extra, unless you have a real jerk at the airport security that for some reason thinks that, you know, you're being difficult because you're trying to opt out, and then they'll make you wait like, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. But remember, this is your actual human right to do this, and it's in the law. So by law, they have to provide you with an opt-out. Unless you absolutely have to, avoid all x-rays and avoid all MRI scanners. Any of these Western medical practices, which in specific cases can be beneficial towards, let's say, identifying a broken bone, many times it's not necessary. So if you can avoid it, definitely avoid it, because MRI scans and CAT scans and all of this does emit massive amounts of radiation onto your body. When a cell becomes radiated, it becomes mutated. Mutated cells become cancerous over time. And lastly, I would like to say to stop streaming your music. If you are dependent upon having to go and stream your music by only connecting yourself to the internet, that's not good. Every time you want to listen to music, you have to radiate yourself. I'm not subscribed to any streaming services personally, because streaming services are incredibly unfair to artists in the amount of percentage of revenue that artists get from their music being streamed. But besides that, you don't own the music, and you have to connect to the internet unless you download it to listen to music. So why have another way of constantly having to be emitted to a Wi-Fi or an internet frequency? If you wired your connection and you want to listen to Spotify, that's fine. But I would encourage you, if you decide to go one step further, and that is to actually start buying your music so that you own it. So that for the rest of your life, you won't have to pay $10 a month to have access to a library full of music. I really encourage you to start building up your music library and go offline permanently when it comes to these forms of entertainment. I hope you're able to derive benefit from all of these tips, And I hope that you share it with your friends and share this information, because so many people are exposing themselves to massive amounts of radiation without ever even being aware that they are. I'm so saddened when I see children today that are like zombies on their phones, with their posture growing like this and just not even being able to socially interact with the world anymore. These children that are putting cell phones to their ears are just exposing their brains to so much harmful radiation, much more than an adult, because the child's brain and skull is not fully formed. It is more malleable. Sadly, does the government know about all this? Absolutely, they know about all of this. We've been in a depopulation agenda for quite a while now, not only from the amount of radiation we're being exposed to at an alarmingly increased level, but also from all of the toxic chemicals that are being put into our food, into our water, fluoride, into our cleaning products. It's a constant bombardment. So we have to get informed, we have to be intelligent and take proactive action towards creating the world that we desire to live in. Every action that we take is a vote towards the world that we want to create. So with that, I wish to have inspired you. If you have a recommendation as to how to further reduce our radiation exposure and it was not listed in this video, please do so by leaving a comment below, and that way myself and everyone else can go down the comments and learn of further tips and tricks to help reduce our radiation exposure. I'm sending you all so much love, and I'm wishing you a wonderful holy day season. May you spend it with your family and your loved ones. I will see you soon in 2024. Mwah.